Good day, everyone, wherever you are in the world. Let me ask you something. Have you ever wondered why some people live extraordinary lives while others struggle to get by, despite working just as hard? Today, I want to share with you 5 golden rules for success. These aren't theories. These are laws. And when you live by them, life doesn't just change, it transforms. Discipline is the foundation upon which every successful life is built. Without it, dreams remain just dreams. Nothing more than wishful thinking and empty hopes. I used to think success was about motivation, about waking up inspired and feeling great. But let me tell you, motivation gets you going, but discipline keeps you growing. Discipline is doing what you ought to do, when you ought to do it, whether you feel like it or not. And that's the part most people miss. They're waiting for the right mood, the perfect moment, the ideal day. But success doesn't wait for moods. It's reserved for those who act despite how they feel. The people who push forward when it's raining, when it's uncomfortable, when it's not convenient. Those are the ones who cross the finish line. Now, let me be honest with you. I didn't always understand this. When I was 25 years old, broke and blaming everyone else for my situation, I had a long list of excuses. You ever carry one of those? I blamed the government, my boss, the economy, even the weather. But then I met a mentor who changed everything. He said, "Jim, your life doesn't get better by chance. It gets better by change. And change begins with discipline." That hit me hard. He went on to say, discipline is like a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it gets. The less you use it, the weaker you become. That day I made a decision not to do something massive, not to change my whole life in one go, but to start with one small daily habit, one simple commitment I could keep. And then another, and then another. You see, discipline is not about extremes. It's about consistency. You don't have to do extraordinary things to have an extraordinary life. You just have to do ordinary things consistently and with excellence. Wake up early. Read 10 pages a day. Make those phone calls. Keep your word. Follow through. Show up. Discipline isn't something you're born with. It's something you build, and anyone can build it, regardless of where you come from or what you've been through. And here's the beautiful part. Discipline gives you freedom. Now, I know that sounds backward. Most people think discipline is restriction. It's boring, it's rigid, it's tough. But that's not true. Discipline creates structure, and structure sets you free. Free to grow, free to succeed, free to live without chaos. The man or woman who's disciplined doesn't live by chance. They live by design. Let me put it to you another way. If you don't discipline yourself, the world will do it for you. And let me tell you, the world's version of discipline isn't nearly as kind as your own. Late fees, missed opportunities, poor health, broken relationships, those are all the costs of a life without discipline. You want better results? Don't wish for them. Work for them. You don't get in shape by thinking about fitness. You get in shape by doing the push-ups. You don't build wealth by talking about money. You build wealth by saving, investing, planning, daily actions repeated over time. Discipline is the great separator. It's what divides the achievers from the excuse makers. And the truth is, we all pay. You either pay the price of discipline now, or you pay the price of regret later. And believe me, regret is far more expensive. So decide today, not tomorrow, not next Monday. Today, start small, but build your discipline one promise at a time. Keep that promise. Then build again. Before long, you'll look back and realize that every breakthrough, every success, every victory was born from one small moment of discipline. That's the secret, my friend. That's the first golden rule. Because without discipline, the rest don't matter. When I was 25 years old, I was broke. Not just financially, but mentally, emotionally, and spiritually broke. I had pennies in my pocket and nothing in the bank. And I was blaming everything except the one thing that truly mattered me. I thought if I just had a better job, things would turn around. If the economy would improve, then I'd get my shot. If my boss gave me a raise, I'd finally make it. But then I met a mentor. He looked me straight in the eyes and said something that changed my life forever. He said, Jim, if you want to have more, you have to become more. Success is not something you pursue. Success is something you attract by the person you become. I didn't get it at first. I thought working harder on my job was the answer. More hours, more effort, more hustle. But he said, no, Jim, you need to work harder on yourself than you do on your job. Let that sink in. Your job is important. It puts food on the table. It pays the bills. It builds experience. But if you only work hard on your job, you'll make a living. If you work hard on yourself, you'll make a fortune. Now, I'm not talking about radical overnight change. I'm talking about small, deliberate daily changes. Read a book instead of scrolling social media. Listen to an audiobook while driving instead of the radio. Attend a seminar. Write down your goals. Reflect, plan, grow. Every time you learn something new, every time you sharpen a skill, every time you stretch your mindset, you become more valuable. And the marketplace pays for value, not time, not effort, value. It's a simple formula. Be more valuable to the marketplace, and you earn more, period. You want to double your income? Then triple your value. You want more opportunities? Then multiply your skill set. That's what I did. I started reading books like they were treasures. I studied communication, sales, leadership, time management, finances, philosophy. You name it, I read it. I listened, I learned, I applied. And before long, people began to notice. Promotions came, clients came, confidence came. Because when you invest in yourself, you grow roots. You stop depending on the economy or the job market or someone else's opinion. You carry your value with you. Wherever you go with strength. You become the kind of person who creates results, not waits for them. The kind of person who isn't afraid of losing a job because they know how to create new opportunities. That's the power of self-development. And here's the thing, growth is not a one-time event. It's not a weekend workshop and done. It's a lifestyle. Just like eating right and exercising. Personal development must be continuous, a little bit every day. Feed your mind like you feed your body. Nourish it, stretch it, challenge it, expose it to new ideas. Because you can't grow a new life with the same old thoughts. Your life is your garden, and you are the gardener. You can let weeds grow, or you can plant seeds of greatness. It's your choice. So let me ask you, what are you doing today to grow you, not your job? Not your job. Not your paycheck. Because at the end of the day, the greatest project you'll ever work on is the one you see in the mirror. Failure. Now, there's a word most people try to avoid, isn't it? It doesn't feel good. It stings. It bruises the ego. But let me tell you something I learned early in my journey. Failure isn't the opposite of success. It's part of it. In fact, it's the very foundation. Success is built on. When I first started out, I wanted to avoid every mistake. I thought successful people were the ones who never failed. Oh, was I wrong? The most successful people I've met, they've failed more times than most people have even tried. The difference is they learn. They didn't let failure stop them. They let it shape them. See, most people treat failure like a dead end, but it's not a dead end. It's a detour. It's redirection. It's information. It's feedback. Failure is your teacher, not your undertaker. You don't sit in failure, you study it. Now, I've had my share of failures. Business deals that fell through, people who walked away, goals I didn't hit, times I was embarrassed, even humiliated, but I didn't throw in the towel. I sat down, asked the hard questions, and learned. I treated failure like a seminar. And believe me, some of those seminars were expensive. But the lessons I learned, priceless. Here's what I've come to understand. You can't grow without falling a few times. A child doesn't learn to walk without a few tumbles. A pianist doesn't master the keys without playing a few wrong notes. You want to get better at anything? Prepare to fail along the way. But here's the key. Don't fail casually. Don't fail and forget. That's called wasting the experience. If you're going to fail, fail intelligently. When something doesn't work out, sit down with a journal, not a bottle. Ask yourself, what did I miss? What could I do better? What didn't I prepare for? Learn the lesson, grow from it, then get back up and try again. This time wiser. You see, every failure carves character. It builds resilience. It humbles you, which keeps your ego in check. It sharpens your thinking. It teaches you empathy, and it gives you stories, powerful ones, that someday you'll use to inspire someone else. I often say, don't wish it was easier. Wish you were better. Because when you get better, life gets better, and you get better through adversity, through falling and rising again. And remember this, the person who never fails is the person who never tries. That's not safety. That's stagnation. And success doesn't live there. Success lives on the edge of discomfort, in the land of effort, in the valley of learning, and yes, in the school of failure. So the next time you miss the mark, don't beat yourself up. Don't run from it. Don't hide it. Embrace it. Examine it. Learn from it. Then go again. Because failure, my friend, is not the end of the road. It's simply part of the path. And every successful man or woman you admire today, they got there by walking that same road, stumbling a few times, but never quitting. So fail, but fail forward, and keep going. That's how success is earned. If someone asked me to tell them one thing, just one, that could change their life almost overnight, I'd say this. Take a serious look at the people you spend the most time with. You see, we are influenced more than we realize by the company we keep. Attitudes are contagious. So are habits. So is thinking. And if you're not careful, you could spend years living below your potential. Not because you're lazy or untalented, but because you're surrounded by the wrong crowd. I used to hang out with what I called the complain club. You ever been in one of those people who constantly talk about how unfair life is? The boss is unfair. The economy is unfair. The weather is unfair. The government, definitely unfair. And guess what happened when I spent all my time around them? I started thinking like them, talking like them, even feeling like them. One day my mentor looked at me and said, Jim, if you hang around with losers, don't be surprised when your life starts losing too. That one hit me in the gut. But he was right. I had to upgrade my environment. Here's what I want you to understand. You are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. If you hang around 5 broke people, chances are you'll be the 6th. If you spend time with 5 unmotivated people, you'll lose your fire too. But if you spend time with winners, thinkers, go-getters, people who are growing, building, striving, you'll start to level up without even trying. That sets the power of association. You've got to protect your environment like it's sacred ground, because it is. Your future depends on it. If you want to succeed, spend time with people who are more successful than you, smarter than you, kinder than you, more disciplined than you. People who challenge you to be better, not just cheer you on for staying the same. You need people who stretch your vision, not shrink it. And here's another thing. Don't just look for people to learn from, but also people to grow with. Create a circle of accountability. People who'll call you out when you're slacking. People who'll say, hey, you said you were going to do that. Why haven't you? Not out of judgment, but out of belief in your potential. Now, some people might not understand this. They'll say, you've changed. That's okay. That's what growth looks like. When you raise your standards, some people will fall away, and that's part of the process. Because the truth is, not everyone is meant to go where you're going. You've got to be around winners. People with vision. People with fire in their belly. People who read books, set goals, ask big questions, and live with purpose. Because just being near that kind of energy will elevate your energy. And if you say, Jim, I don't have those kinds of people around me, that's okay. Start with books. Mentors don't have to be in your living room. They can be on your bookshelf. They can be in audio, on stage, in a podcast. You can learn from the best, even if you've never met them. Eventually, when you grow, the right people will start showing up. Because success attracts success. Energy attracts energy. And when you start operating on a higher level, you'll naturally align with those doing the same. So ask yourself, who am I becoming by staying around the people I'm with now? And if the answer doesn't excite you, it's time to make a change. Because your future is too important to let the wrong associations sabotage it. Build your circle with care. Guard it with discipline. And watch how your life begins to rise. There's a point in every person's life where the truth arrives, not softly, but like a jolt to the soul. For me, that moment came when my mentor looked me in the eyes and said, Jim, if your life's not working, it's your fault. Now, I'll be honest. At first, I didn't like hearing that. I wanted to blame everything else. I blamed the economy. I blamed taxes. I blamed my boss. I even blamed the weather once. But none of that changed my situation. Blame doesn't move the needle. Responsibility does. That day I learned one of the most powerful principles for success. Take 100% responsibility for your life. Not 50%, not 80%, not when things go right and never when they go wrong. 100%. You see, most people want to be in control, but they don't want to accept responsibility. And you can't have one without the other. The moment you take full ownership of your life, your actions, your decisions, your results is the moment everything begins to change. People say, but Jim, what about things I can't control? That's a good question. You can't control the weather. You can't control what others do. But you can control how you respond. You can control your mindset. You can control your discipline, your attitude, your effort. And that's where your power lives. Let me give it to you straight. You are not a victim of your circumstances. You are the architect of your future. That doesn't mean bad things won't happen. They will. But how you handle them, that's where success is born. Most people would rather complain than change. Why? Because it's easier to complain. It's easy to point fingers. It's harder to look in the mirror and say, it's me. I need to grow. I need to do better. But let me tell you, everything you want is on the other side of that kind of honesty. And that people who've gone through unspeakable hardship, lost businesses, broken marriages, bankruptcy, betrayal. But the ones who rise, the ones who rebuild, they all say the same thing. I took responsibility. I stopped waiting for someone to fix it for me. And that's when things shift. Now I know this isn't always comfortable. It's much easier to blame. Blaming feels good in the short term, but it leaves you powerless in the long term. When you take responsibility, you take your power back. You begin to realize that you are the problem, but also the solution. That's the beauty of it. If you created the mess, you can clean it up. If you dug the hole, you can climb out. That's what responsibility does. It gives you the tools, the courage, the authority to change your life. So today, if things aren't stinks and going the way you want, don't stand, look out the window. Look in the mirror and say, if it is to be, it steps up to me. That one decision, spoken in truth, can rewrite your story. Responsibility is the price of greatness. It's not always easy, but it's always worth it. Because when you stop waiting and start owning, you don't just survive. You succeed. Success isn't built in a day. It's built daily. Not in giant leaps, not in dramatic breakthroughs, but in small, simple steps, done with intention, done with consistency. I used to believe the secret to success was one big moment, one massive opportunity, one lucky break. But life taught me something different. It's not the big things that make the difference. It's the little things, done every day without fail. You don't have to do extraordinary things to have an extraordinary life. You just have to do ordinary things, consistently and with excellence. Wake up a little earlier. Read a few pages. Make the phone call. Send the email. Review your goals. Practice your skill. These things don't feel like much when you're doing them. But let me tell you, they stack up over time like compound interest. And compound interest, as they say, is the eighth wonder of the world. Let's say you decide to read 10 pages of a good book each day. That's not hard to do, but it's also easy not to do. You get tired. You skip a day. You tell yourself, it's just 10 pages. What difference will it make? But 10 pages a day is 3,650 pages in a year. That's 15 or 20 books. That kind of knowledge can change your thinking. And when you change your thinking, you change your life. The same principle applies to your health, your business, your relationships. You don't need to go to the gym for 5 hours one day. You need to go for 30 minutes every day. You don't need one perfect sales call. You need 10 consistent calls every morning. You don't need one romantic gesture. You need small acts of love and attention every single week. Consistency turns average into excellence. It's not about intensity. It's about sustainability. It's not about being perfect. It's about showing up, rain or shine. You ever see a river cut through rock? It doesn't do it by force. It does it by persistence. Drop after drop. Day after day. That's how success works. The little things repeated with purpose carve out a life of greatness. But here's the danger. Because the actions are small, we often underestimate them. We say skipping this one time won't hurt. And it won't, not today. But skip enough times, and the compound effect works against you. Success and failure both come from the small choices, just heading in different directions. You see, your habits are your future in disguise. Every day you're either building a life you'll be proud of or drifting toward a life of regret. And the difference is almost always in what you do daily. Let me say it again. Success is not something you do occasionally. It's something you do consistently. The daily disciplines, the daily mindset, the daily preparation, the daily focus. You don't become successful someday. You become successful today. By doing the right things when no one's watching, when no one's clapping, when no one's rewarding you. That's the price. So if you want the results most people only dream about, you must do what most people are unwilling to do. Not once, but over and over again. Decide today that you will be consistent. Even when it's hard. Even when you don't feel like it. Even when progress seems slow. Because the harvest doesn't come the same day you plant the seed. But plant daily, water daily, stay the course, and in time the results will come.